joining us for today's Buzzcast. You know us, we bring you the Appraisal Buzz newsletter twice a week, and look out for the fall Appraisal Buzz magazine in late September. This particular issue has some great articles like the Randy Bell's Disaster Index, which does a comparison of the current pandemic economic crisis and past economic crises. For appraisers who love to analyze and compare, it's a great read. I'm excited about today's Buzzcast. Joan Trice, our founder and CEO, is interviewing James Heaslet, also affectionately known as Gunny. James is the Supervisory Appraiser for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the VA loan is a big benefit for our servicemen and women, and is just one of the many great programs VA provides. We'd like to thank Solidify for sponsoring this program. Before I turn things over to Joan and James, just a quick word from them. At Solidify, they're redefining the customer experience. Each appraisal is performed by the nation's top performing appraisers. Their national appraiser network is comprised of committed professionals who go above and beyond for both the lender and the homeowner. Their top appraisers are in turn rewarded with more exposure and more assignments that enables them to grow their business. We've seen time and time again how great Solidify treats their appraisers every year at Valuation Expo. It's always so great to see. Solidify ensures the right appraiser on every order, every time. You can find out more at solidify.com. And Joan, you have the mic.
Great. Excuse me. Thank you, Karen. So James, I know I've known you for a very long time, but a lot of our listeners haven't had the pleasure to have met you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Joan. I will say that I forgot that I was going to be on camera. I already started thinking about how I was going to introduce myself. I was going to say I was 6'1", dark hair, blue eyes, and handsome, but we know that cat's out of the bag, and that's not true. You know, I'm a second generation appraiser. There's not much to say. I am a retired Marine. I'm a retired Marine gunnery sergeant. That's why they call me Gunny. And you know, I'm really kind of young in the appraisal space. You know, I don't have the 30, 40 years of experience that some of our people have. But I do recall my dad gluing and pasting all the old stories that we hear in every class about how, you know, you had the dot matrix standards to pull comps. But I'm a born native Arizonan. It's where I learned to appraise. I still maintain my license. And so having the heart of a veteran, being a veteran, I was on the VA panel before I joined the VA. Jerry Kiefer, kind of a mentor of mine. I think we all know him. And he'd done such great things bringing the VA into the 19th century or the 20th century that it was very nice for him when he retired that I was able to pick up the torch and start carrying the VA into the 21st century. And so, I spent 6 years on the state appraisal panel. That was a profound experience, a great learning experience for a young appraiser. I got my MBA during that time, which that was very tough, running a full-time shop, being on the state board, and going through an MBA program, all of which I didn't think that was going to prepare me to be anything other than an independent fee appraiser. But I find that the experience has groomed me very well to be the chief appraiser for the VA. So that in a nutshell is my background.
Well, and that's your professional background, and I've met your entire family. So why don't you have some pretty awesome kids, and obviously
Thanks.
You and Jody are awesome parents. So tell us a little bit about your children.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, so I do have two kids. My son just started his plebe summer at the Naval Academy. Rockstar kid. I could talk this whole segment about him, but he's also dedicated to serving his country. Since the age 9, he wanted to be at the Naval Academy. He was accepted to both West Point and the Naval Academy, so he made the right decision. Even though we still allow that decision whether he wants to be a Marine or into the Navy, he thinks he's leaning towards Marine Corps, and I'm sure he'll make that right decision. My daughter, 15-year-old Catherine, a rock star of her own right. She toys with the idea of serving the military. She likes business, very business savvy individual for a young age. We used to read the Wall Street Journal together, and like I said, I could talk for hours about it.
Yeah, your kids are very, very mature and motivated.
They take after their mother.
Oh, I hear you. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on at the VA. I understand you all have broken some volume records as of late, and I presume that's a lot, what, interest rate driven, you think?
Yeah, it is. So our largest year ever was just over 740,000 loans. I think that happened in 2016. We've already broken 1 million loans this year, and we're on target for 1.2 million loans. Now, why that is interest rate driven, but it just seems that there's still a frenzy of purchases where our purchases have broken records, refinance have broken records. And so, and we do this, so that puts us about 12%, last time we checked, about 12% of the market. And we do that just with the valuation staff. We do that with about 105, 110 people. So we are servicing quite a bit of loans with very few people.
Well, that's amazing. Karen, I think I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute if you want to present a commercial message from one of our sponsors.
Sure. Listen, nobody wants to work more for less money. And to some, the appraisal industry looks like it's headed that way. You have to do more for the same money, and then you have less time for yourself. The great news is Data Master can change that. With their easy-to-use software, Data Master lets you spend more time analyzing and less time typing. Plus, you get more information than other data import products. Head to www.datamasterusa.com/buzz for more information on how you can save an hour per report. Who wouldn't love that? Data Master provides the right data at the right time for the right decision. Learn more at www.datamasterusa.com/buzz. Back to you, Joan.
Okay. James, let's talk a little bit about the VA panel. So the VA does things quite a bit differently than, say, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or even the VA. What is it that's so unique about the VA? Why did you go down this path, and how's it working today?
You know, I'll tell you, it is different. We're the only government agency that has its own panel. And fortunate for us, that's by congressional statute. Jerry Kiefer, when he developed, I mentioned him earlier, is that, you know, back many decades, I'll say decades ago, when 30, 40 years ago, when we developed a panel, it was a way that we could train and develop our own appraisers who are serving veterans who that's our client. So we want to make sure that our panel understands and have the heart of a teacher and to service our veterans. So as the only agency that has our own panel, we're kind of blessed in a way that we get to groom and develop a long-term relationship with our appraisers. I think a friend of the Appraisal Buzz, and many people know, we have like Ernie Durbin. We have many appraisers that have served 30 plus years on our panel. We're fortunate enough where we act like an AMC, but we're not an AMC. We're a dual client role where the appraiser lists both the VA and the lender as a client. But what that allows us to do is to transfer a full 100% fee to our panel. We believe our panel is paid appropriately, and it's not based upon when our appraisal fees are posted, it's not based upon what appraisers are being paid, but what are consumers paying for the service. We want to ensure our our veterans are paying an appropriate fee. And again, we're fortunate enough to be able to pass that full fee on to our appraisers. But so it's two-way. We're actually doing an appraisal of what the appraisal service is, not what the appraiser receives. And so, and we can do that so our appraisers can focus on spending the time, because we don't want, what our vision is, we don't want our appraisers to do hundreds of reports a month, and now they have to make up for quantity because of fees and suffer on quality. We want our appraisers to spend time on quality and get paid for that time. Because between fees, quality, and time, you can't get the best of all three. So we don't want to suffer on quality, and we don't want to suffer on time. So we have to pay them appropriate fees.
Well, that sounds like it's way too common sense oriented. Shame on you.
It's really just a common sense practice. What is it you really want? What is an appraiser to do? We want a good valuation appraisal. And so are you willing to pay for it? And of all the money a homeowner's spending on a real estate transaction, we're always trying to skimp on the appraisal fee. And that's other people's business models. I get it. We're just fortunate enough we don't have to
do that. So just as an example, I know you can't do a recall of, what every VA appraisal fee is in 3,600 counties in the United States. Your home county in Arizona is what, and what's the VA fee there?
So right now, Arizona, for the most part of Arizona, California, Nevada, New Mexico, $600. And now, obviously, we've opened with Blue Water Navy, Bill. We are in the multi-million. We've removed our conforming loan limits. So we're starting to see the multi-million-dollar market come into the VA space. And so when appraisers are in a complex situation, we allow that appraiser to come back to us and say, due to complexity, they need a fee increase. We had a transaction in Colorado, huge cabin home, 200 acres of wooded, surrounded by national land. And I think we ended up paying that appraiser close to $2,500 or $3,500 because it was a complex assignment. So we allow our appraisers to, based upon the assignment, the agreeing of the lender and the veteran, if they want to move forward. And so basic fees at that $600, $550. We have some at that $500. We do have some counties in Colorado, Montana, Oregon. We have some at the $900 range.
Wow. So you mentioned in passing there the Blue Water Navy program, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who have no idea what that is. So why don't you give us a brief little synopsis on what that's all about?
So I'll go from large to scale, and when I come down to the bottom is really what impacted our valuation area. So the Blue Water Navy was the bottom line up front is those Vietnam veterans who are on the big ships out in the blue water sea who are experiencing some items that look like Agent Orange. This was a bill to ensure that they were protected and covered, and that we were able to service them and provide them with benefits. Because of that, it opened up a lot of things. One of the items is they're going to pay them out of the funding fee, but they wanted to open up the conforming loan limits. We do have, veterans are not subprime, even though it's a no money down loan. We have many of our veterans in the multi-million-dollar market. If you want to look at Bob Parson, who used to be the owner of GoDaddy, he's a multi-billionaire. So our veterans are at the upper tiers, and we wanted to open up that market so they could utilize their VA benefits of those homes above that. Now, the last segment I want to bring up is in that bill, under Section 7, they wanted VA appraisers to use third-party people or other people to collect information or to assist them in the appraisal process. And I think they wanted VA appraisers to use bifurcated. And when I looked at it, I felt that it was putting my veterans at a great deal of risk. Again, we're not looking at our profit margins, we're looking at servicing our veterans. I would never want a young lady where her husband may be deployed in a remote area to have someone we don't know, have no vetting, have no license to go into their house. I would rather have people who are on our panel, who's regulated, trained, and has a heart for serving veterans to go in their house. So we did open up our ability to allow appraisers to use another VA appraiser, to use a trainee, and to have them sign on the left and have the VA appraiser sign on the right. So we looked at that as an opportunity to give our panel flexibility, should open up the aperture a little bit for speed in those remote areas, but still keeping it under what I just call the USPAP umbrella. Keeps it under the appraisal umbrella. It keeps some kind of regulation and some oversight.
That is a great program, and thank you for supporting the appraisal community on that. And so speaking of supporting the appraisal community, if I were an appraiser watching this, first thing I'd want to do is call you up or reach out to you and figure out how to get on your panel. So tell us what that process looks like, and are there areas of the country that you're in particular need of appraisers right now?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, Joan, when I got on the appraisal panel, I was on the VA appraisal panel. I went about it, and I was here in Phoenix, tons of work here in Phoenix, Arizona. But when I called the VA, I asked them, where can I best serve you? And it was, unfortunately, it was in a county 3.5 hours away. I was already servicing another client there. I was a brand new licensed appraiser. Believe it or not, we take licensed appraisers. Just because your license level is higher doesn't make you better. Licensed appraisers are very valuable today in providing us great work. Because I was in a remote county, I asked the VA and they said, yes, we do need service in that remote county. Unfortunately, I see appraisers wanted to come to us in those high dense, high activity where there's a lot of work. And granted, I would too. Using Phoenix, Atlanta, Dallas, Austin, San Diego, those counties are saturated with work, but saturated with VA appraisers. And I don't want to just add more appraisers to our panel, because now I'm doing a disservice to my panel. I like to keep them full of work. I want a long-term relationship with them. So we encourage everyone to apply. We do have appraisers that are removed from our panel. We do remove appraisers from our panel. We have appraisers that just resigned because they're just at age, they're aging out. You might want to say on their own resigning. So we do want people to apply. We do want appraisers to understand that we are here as a needs base to service our veterans. And we do have a need in some rural areas. I will tell you right now, just emailing the valuation officer out of Houston, El Paso County, Texas is in need of appraisers. Around Bexar County, which is, I found out that a Baxer is actually pronounced Bear. I don't know how they do that, but that's how it's pronounced in Texas. Southern Colorado, high need for appraisers in Southern Colorado. Maine is another area that we need a lot of appraisers. And so there are areas that almost instantaneously, if an appraiser was to call and service the needs of the VA, we would almost absolutely put them on.
Well, we'll put a reminder again at the end of this Buzzcast, but for any appraiser listening, the Appraisal Buzz has actually given the VA their own channel on our new email forum. It's at buzzforum.net. So anybody listening can reach out to James, chat with him directly there. If they need to take the conversation offline, James will arrange that. So that's, I think you're going to get a lot of appraisers reaching out to you, James. Well, here's a good opportunity, Karen, I think, to break for another commercial message from one of our sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the appraisers listening out there, if you've grown frustrated with endlessly pursuing new appraisal work and not reaping any of the benefits, Metro West is here to help. They understand and work to alleviate the pain points commonly felt by appraisers to enable personal growth and financial growth for their staff. After all, they have been owned and operated by appraisers since the company opened in 1987. Metro West Appraisal is an equal opportunity employer, and they're always looking for good certified residential real estate appraisers to join their team. You can find out more at www.metrowestappr.com. Check them out. Back to you, Joan.
Thanks, Karen. So James, one of my favorite topics, which I honestly don't think we talk about enough, is appraiser independence. And the VA has an amazing program that I think benefits every single stakeholder in a real estate transaction. So can you tell us a little bit about the Tidewater Initiative?
Yeah, Joan, it doesn't come with its own challenges. When we assign an order, first of all, the assignment happens automatically. We don't know who it's going to. One of the hard parts for recruiting is when an appraiser gets an order, that's their order. They don't get to pick and choose and cherry pick and say, that's too hard, that's too easy, no, that's too far, that's more than 5 miles from our house. You get the good, bad, the ugly. And so Tidewater is an equal well, not Tidewater, but our rotation is equal rotation, which is also in our regulations. And our regulations state this is the way we're going to do it. We believe in it. Well, I think we saw fruits in it, and we benefit from it. One of the things that we have included, even during the HVCC that is sunsetted, VA was never part of the HVCC that you couldn't communicate to the appraiser. We want parties to communicate. Everyone should be grown boys and girls at the table communicating about the transaction. Oddly named, it comes from the Tidewater region of Virginia. It was an initiative that Jerry Kiefer started that we've kind of hung on to. And at the time, what it is at the time the appraiser feels that contract may not be supported, that they're allowed to reach out to the client, the lender, and through the client, that the real estate agents are allowed to provide that appraiser with sales or information or have a voice at the table to help support that contract value. And in times, there might be information that the appraiser may need that could help them support that contract or discover that the market may or may not support that contract. But what's nice is it gives the veteran and those agents a first bite at the apple. But it doesn't stop there. We allow a second bite at the apple. Because there's times where we administer a benefit and we are in the business of putting veterans in homes, not making them homeless. And so if the appraiser was not able to support a contract value, but it may be just short just a little bit, they can take a second bite at the apple, come to the regional loan center and just say, here are some things that they feel should be considered. And since VA is guaranteeing 25% of that loan, we can arrive at what's called a reasonable value. And so we never edit or change the appraisal, but we would guarantee possibly a higher amount for the lender if they feel comfortable in making that loan. So no fault of the appraiser, if they can't support that loan, we will look and see what's reasonable. What are we putting the secretary at risk? What are we putting the veteran at risk, if any? And so the Tidewater is really a process to allow the appraiser to arrive at a market value without pressure. If they can't support it, they can't support it. And I find it shocking that our appraisers will be honest in their valuation and not be able to support value that the 99.9% of the time that we hear from the other GSEs and other large lenders. But our appraisers who are on their panels aren't able to always support the contract. So we think that the Tidewater allows an honest and true valuation.
Fantastic. So we're not going to be able to leave here today without talking about the topic that's on everybody's mind, and that is COVID-19. Tell us about how the VA and your panel is faring through the pandemic, and what changes have you made to your policy, your presumably temporary guidance that you've offered?
Well, first of all, I think one of the great, let's just go from when it was a national emergency declared. One of the first things that we started doing is start tracking our appraisal panel. I felt it was important for one, historical reasons, how many appraisers were going to take themselves out of rotation. So we developed a process where when an appraiser says they did not feel safe to appraise, we felt it was important to track that number. And we saw that number continuously increase for about the first 2 weeks. Now, 2 weeks is kind of an important area. Right after it was declared a national emergency, I was really pleased at the chiefs appraisers at Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, Lyle Radke and Scott Reuter, FHA, HUD, and some other major industries, we started communicating kind of like in the back channels. And not that we're sharing any backdoor conversations or secrets, but I think we really rallied together to say, what are you thinking? How should we move and navigate this? I think it was important that our appraiser industry was able to answer the call. So it was nice to be able to have, excuse me, I think it was nice that industry leaders were communicating. We were picking each other's brains for insight. What kind of discussions are they having? Fannie and Freddie came out with their policy first. We followed right behind theirs and so on. We saw as soon as we came out with policy, and our policy was to open up the aperture and allow some flexibility. For the first time ever, did we allow desktop appraising. First time ever did we allow an exterior only appraising. And then we have well water testing. We have some, the well water testing was odd because a lot of communities or government agencies shut down where we couldn't get that tested. And so we had this balancing point of how do we navigate? In a desktop appraisal is only available when those local agencies restrict and forbid movement of personnel. That is the very few instances when we would allow a desktop appraisal. The second, the exterior only, which we always coin, we always know we call it a drive-by. There's not a drive-by appraisal, it's an exterior only. But I took it a step further and I just said, just because it's exterior only doesn't mean you can't stop your car, get out and walk around the property. It's the exterior of the property. They know you're coming. You should still be setting an appointment. It doesn't mean I can't get 4 exterior photos. Doesn't mean you still can't measure the exterior footprint of the home. Still doesn't mean you can't, we've had appraisers say, I just asked the veteran to open up all their windows so they could peek in and see all the rooms. And it's allowing appraisers the flexibility to still work in this environment to best suit the homeowner veteran and suit the lender and the client. And so I really liked our enhanced exterior inspection policy because I think it's just the right thing to do. It's still the assignment. You still have to discover all the information. It's not a drive-by. It's not slow down to 30 miles an hour, flip a photo and keep on going. Do what's right for the veteran, do what's right for your client and for our profession to look at the home and look at the asset. And I think the fact that appraisers need to be sitting in the desk and doing analytics is not the way I look at it. You still have to know what you're putting a value on. And I think that looking at the house, looking at the asset of which you're lending on is a key component. And so I think that in the COVID environment, we had to get some flexibility to keep lending, keep liquidity going. That's very important to our economy, to keep appraisers employed, to keep money flowing throughout pockets. We do see the numbers. The majority of appraising is still doing full interior inspections. And I think that why I get the benefit of getting a full interior inspection. I think that we need to afford the opportunity for appraisers to still do an exterior when the scope of work can validate that. I am looking at drafting a phase 2 of COVID policy. In my Marine Corps career, I'll sum this up real quick. It's easy to go from a peacetime to a wartime Marine. But what's really hard is when you open up all the rules to start coming back to be a peacetime military person. And I think that applies to valuation. I think to have a stringent set of rules of what you've always been applying, and now you remove the rules, it's hard to come back to the rules-based type policy.
Yeah, nobody knows what to do suddenly. It's like, yeah.
And so now I need to start bringing it back and start tightening the policy a little bit. We did restrict some of our reconsideration of values since we're not able to fully see the property. We do know in a pandemic area, some people want higher values. But I think that we're looking at, the numbers are indicating, because we are a data-based decision-making industry, I think the data is suggesting that we could probably start taking a step closer to being back to normal, because the data is telling us that most appraisals are doing interior appraisals. I think that we understand what we're up against, and I think we understand what we're doing. And so I think that we're going to take a step back to normal, even though the pandemic is still going. With that, I think there's a lot of lessons learned. I think it has opened up the appetite for some waivers. I think it's opened up the appetite that not every property needs an interior inspection. And so I think that VA, we're going to, in the aftermath, look at this and say, what are the lessons learned, and what can we better suit a product to serve our veterans?
Fantastic. Well, Karen, I think that concludes our chat today with James Heaslet from the VA.
Well, Joan and James, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate that. It's incredibly rewarding for me to hear what's being done for the veterans. And as Joan mentioned earlier, if you have any questions for James, he has his own channel on buzzforum.net. If you want to follow up and communicate directly with James, you can go to buzzforum.net, scroll down and click on the VA channel, and James will be available to answer any questions that you might have. And with that, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We look forward to the next time, and everybody stay safe out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, folks.